All right. I want to thank you guys. The Bluestones, thank you so much for just joining. I gotta do you right. I gotta do you right. Be coming to the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now count 'em, two countries. The former Canadian Rejects, the pride of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, by way of Sarnia, Ontario, Canada. I want to give it up from Justin. I want to give it up for Tarek of the Bluestones. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, man.
I want to thank my buddies from South Detroit, aka Windsor. I hope I can give you a little bit of relief, mainly because doing some research on my own, getting ready for this interview. There's a lot of the first question is, "What's Canada like?" And I'm like, "Dude, come on, man, give these guys a break." So I don't want to do that to you.
Appreciate
But,
that.
I know you guys are busy. You guys are touring, and I joke about it a little bit when I called you the former Canadian Rejects, a moniker you guys took on for a while because it seems that you got a lot of love here in the States before you got it in your home country.
Right.
Is that still going on, or do you still feel that way, or has it kind of leveled out?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we got a lot more love than we did before, which is good. But yeah, I still feel like we're kind of still relatively unknown, for what we're doing. And I think the States has just grabbed hold of us more, man, which is great. That's what we always wanted.
Well, one of the things, I speaking of States, you just left Detroit. You just played the Shelter. We were trying to schedule this interview before then, and then we got it afterwards. And I think it's a blessing in disguise because I got a chance to see you guys again play live, and I haven't seen you for a very long time. So I got a chance to be in the back, do my incognito thing, just watch and just kind of like, oh, okay, they're still good. They're still good. So when you were performing, some about that seemed like, I don't know, relief, if it will, because it almost seems like you guys were very, I won't say slow, but it was like, the pandemic's over, right? The pandemic's over, right? The pandemic, okay, now we're good, now we're good. So it seemed like a little bit of relief from your online sessions that you have done during the pandemic. So is there a feeling, is there a difference, or do you just happy to be out of the house?
Yeah, it's just good to be back on the road, man. It's first, this has been the first tour. We did a tour in Canada and we did a tour in Europe this year, and those both felt like, it was back to normal, like 2019, how it felt to be on the road at that point. And yeah, man, it's the same thing here in the States now. So I feel like, it's things are back, and we're just glad to be back out here.
Yeah.
And kind of like keep things moving. That was the thing with the pandemic, was we just felt like everything was like stagnant. And so now it's good to be like out there and moving again, and, releasing a new song and kind of pushing the envelope a little bit.
And I'm glad you kind of brought that up, because if it wasn't for the pandemic, that's how I like really got to know you. I've heard stuff. I've heard Rolling with the Punches on Suits, because I watch Suits. And I thought that was a great song. For starters, how did that come about? Did you just woke up one day, you got a phone call, and just like, we would like to use your song? Okay, and that's it.
Kind of,
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much, man. It was really hands off from our perspective, which was, it was nice that someone was just interested in wanting to use the song.
Now, you guys have teamed up with Paul Meany from Mute Math, and you have been very vocal about how of a inspiration or influence he has been on your music. So I'm curious, from someone who used to look to him like a hero, well, probably still do, how does it feel having him being a part of the group or producing songs and just working with him on a one-to-one, or I guess two-to-one basis, I guess?
Right. It was great. He lived up to the hype. He was a great coach. Just, you got an awesome album out of working with Paul, and I feel like the sort of respect was mutual. Like, he was definitely a fan of our music once he had heard it, and it just became this great sort of synergy of musicians, working together on an album. And Hidden Gems is something that we're very proud of.
Okay. Justin, anything, or is it just
Yeah,
kind of
nailed
me?
it, man. Like, I mean, he's just it was so refreshing that, you know, someone to meet someone that you look up to, and he's just a great guy, you know, and just whether or not you knew his music or didn't when he was in Mute Math, that didn't matter. He was just about, like, he was into our music, and he wanted to help us produce something great. So yeah, it was just a great experience.
Okay, I do have two tinfoil hat questions that I always want to
Okay.
know. I've read on the internet. I don't know how true they are, but for starters, the album is called Hidden Gems.
Yeah.
Your name is the Bluestones. Are you guys, look, just follow me on this. The Bluestones in geology is like sapphires. Sapphires are usually associated with royalty, and it's also known to attract abundance, blessings, gifts. It also attract or defend against negative energies, as well as like calm your mind, body, and spirit. Is that where it came from? I see Hidden Gems. That a lot of your music is a little upbeat. Is that where the name comes from, or where I'm just off base?
I wish it was that intricate.
That's a great story.
Yeah,
man.
that is a good story.
I really like that, and I vibe with that. But that the unfortunate reality is my ex-girlfriend just suggested the name, and we went with it because we had a show booked, but we didn't have a name. Right. And so we just needed a name to play the show, and we couldn't decide on anything. And my ex-girlfriend was like, "Why don't you do the Bluestones?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it," and just book the show. You know,
yeah,
we didn't really think too much about it. So,
okay. Yeah. You can borrow that story if you want. I guess.
I think we might.
And also one of my favorite songs, "Shaking Off the Rust." Well, again, tinfoil hat time. That song is loosely based on Tarek's writer's block.
Yes. Yeah, that is accurate. That's accurate for sure.
You want to elaborate a little bit and just shake it off the rust?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of hit a point where like I just felt like I couldn't write anything good. I mean, it's definitely something that happens to me often, but this one was particularly satisfying because it was like one morning after having, you know, this full couple weeks of writer's block. I just sort of like stripped everything down to basics, and I was like, you know, let's just write a super simple, you know, stomp style beat song with a catchy little riff. And I think Shaken came together in like 20-25 minutes tops, and I was like, wow, this actually sounds pretty good. And I remember sending it to Tess and Paul at the time, and they were both like, yeah, I think we found our single for this album. So that after that, the rest of the songs came super easy.
Now, all right, and I'm one of those. I'm a big nerd when it comes down to music, and I sit down. I'm one of those guys who just like listen to the words, man. Just listen to the words. So when you do that, and I hear a song like "Shaking Off the Rust," or I go down the liner notes, and through a lot of your songs, which are great, and I talk about how uplifting they are. They're just motivational. I love listening to you guys when I'm in the gym. But one of the things that get me going is when you write uplifting songs, are you doing that, or those kick-ass anthems, are you doing that to kind of convince yourself because you can be harder on yourself? You're trying to do something, or is it just something that just comes naturally?
One thing before we get to that,
yeah,
can you hear this?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay, because we're at the venue and they're starting to sound check. We're just gonna move to another room. Just give us 1 sec.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, sorry about that, man.
No problem.
It was just so they're just like, we're just loading in right now, so they're just starting to like sound check on the PA. Okay. So you were saying, like,
could you repeat the last question there, Sam?
Yeah, the last question I was saying is, like, when you guys write songs like these uplifting anthems and they're just kick-ass songs and you just like feel like a badass the second you hear it, or I always wonder when you write stuff like that, is it something that you're feeling or is it something that you're just trying to remind yourself? Because sometimes we have a tendencies to be very hard on ourselves when it comes down to
Right.
anything creative.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't like listening to like sad or depressing music. That's just like not the type. That's not what I listen to music for. Although I know that it's meaningful to a lot of people. The majority of times, I'm not listening to music for that purpose. I'm listening to music to make me feel good. And I think just because of my tendency to do that, a lot of the writing comes out into these like kind of confident, feel good tracks. And, I'm not writing like happy go lucky songs all the time, but definitely something that is motivating. And it's great to hear that the songs make you feel confident, like a badass, because like really at the end of the day, we want to write music for people to feel like the main character in an action movie, like we want you
I
to
do
feel
feel like that. Yes.
like a badass, like we want you to feel confident, and I think that's a lot of the songs we write are with that purpose, not even purposely. It's just that's how it ends up coming out. Although we do have songs that do touch on more somber topics, I think for the most part, the singles at least, we feel like they're confidence boosters.
Honestly, you can put a good chunk of your songs on anyone leaving a burning or blowing up car, and then that is you could just
There you
just
go.
at random. You could just play
Like
that
just
over.
walking away in the car explosion in the
like
background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of explosions, one of the things I was very interested in is two of you. But when you guys get on stage, it seems like it's way more people playing. How do you get that dynamic sound when it's just, well, I'm not shortchanging you, but I was at the shelter. It was two of you. I
Yeah.
counted.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it is. It's like a mix of things, obviously we've been playing together a very long time. So like the chemistry that we have naturally will fill out the sound. We're pretty physical performers as well. Like I've always hated shows where you go and you watch a band and they don't move from the spot that they enter the stage on. Like we like to move around. Even Justin's getting up and down on his kit and moving around. And I feel like that adds to the fullness. But then sonically, it's a mix of things, like I tend to play a lot of sort of thicker guitars. I play a thicker string. My amp is very like large and has a lower end tone. I use a lot of octave sounds on my pedals. And we do tend to loop a lot of things as well, just to add the illusion of there being more people playing a part than there actually is.
Yeah, we're just big on like you said, dynamics. Like, we're on tour with Des Rocks right now.
Right.
Amazing show. He's a great performer. It's all about energy, and it's big energy all the time, and it's like the whole show is at 100, and that's cool. It totally works for him. Our thing is the ups and downs, and it's to get those really big highs, to make them seem even bigger. We give you a lot of lows so that the climb feels huge, and that's something that we're like, that's kind of what we're focusing on right now of our set, is like, how do we make the lows more engaging so that we can boost the energy when it gets up to that 100 mark.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you can clearly hear it. And one of the things I like that you do, you guys like to experiment with new sounds. If that's like taking keys from mute math, no pun intended, like keyboards and stuff like that in the back, and you can hear that. And you always experiment, but most importantly, you guys bet on yourselves a lot, like a lot. Would it be your transition from going into from more of the independent side to getting with a label? And it sounds like a cliche of just doing the work, but is it really that simple of just doing the work, even though sometimes you just got to pay your dues and keep grinding? Or is there, I don't want to say a trick to it.
It is,
but
man. It's consistency is everything. And it's funny because, we've been at this for a long time. And the one thing is that we've just always tried to make progress and always try to get to like, what's the next step that we need to achieve, and just grab that. And then when you get that, go for the next one. Like, we're not really, it's like it was like a Will Smith thing where he said, like, if he's building a wall, he's not looking at the whole wall. He's just trying to put every brick down as well as he can, because he knows that if he puts down 1,000 good bricks, he's going to have a great wall. When you think about the whole thing in perspective, it's too difficult. And so we've just been consistent, man. Like there's people who were our peers that kind of like shot up and then crashed hard, and we're just kind of like doing this slow and steady thing because we're just staying consistent.
Now, I always ask this question, especially when you grind him. The cliche has always been you should never have a plan B, but you guys do. Like Tarek, you're a certified physical therapist. Justin, aren't you like a philosophy major or like you?
Yeah, philosophy major. I have a master's degree in business as well. Yeah, so we have the plan B. I mean, for us, the plan B has actually worked in our favor because we don't have to rely on the money that we make from music. So anything that we, sort of generate, we can just push back into the company, instead of like having to, well, we can't do this because we have to pay our bills. We can't buy this gear that's going to improve our show because I need to buy groceries. It's like, we can do all that shit and kind of, accelerate our progress because we're, kind of making money in a bunch of different places, basically.
Okay. I want to ask this question. Like I said, thank you guys so much just for your time. And I want to ask this because this is very selfish for me. This is, I want to say a long time ago, I saw you guys, and if memory serves me correct, I think you were at a Sam Roberts show. This is a while back.
Okay.
You guys used to wear suits on stage.
Oh.
What happened to the suits? It was a great show, but I like seeing you guys, you rock out and then possibly you can help me with my stock portfolio right after that.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to the suits?
That was kind of the thing, man. I feel like we were just giving mixed signals,
Yeah.
It was kind of a little weird. It gave off too much of the like accountant Deloitte sort of vibes. And so we just
aged us too,
quite
heavily.
It aged us. And the other side of it though, man, is just we realized the more you tour, like you can't just put a suit in the laundry, you have to like dry clean it. And the more you dry clean it, it kind of like actually messes with the suit. You can only dry clean it so many times. So it just got to the point where we're like, we can't, have 18 suits on tour and I'm not wearing the same thing 5 times without washing it. So got to give up on it.
But it made so much sense. Like when I watching Suits, I'm like, oh, I know those guys. I remember those. I get it, Suits. And then you guys ended up on that show or having your music on that show. It was more like, oh, that makes sense. They're the guys who wear suits on Suits, and here we are.
Yeah, you can draw parallels there.
Yeah, I'm sorry again. Tinfoil hat time. I'm just saying. But one of the things I want to do, and we're getting towards the end of it, mainly because there's a lot of people who are listening to this podcast who essentially want to do what you guys do at one point in time. I'm very curious, what is the best piece of advice that you've been given throughout your travels?
I think probably the one that sticks out the most is, keep playing shows, because that's kind of the most consistent thing you can do for your band. And it puts you in front of people, it's like a proof of concept. And for us, it worked out really great because the reason why we did get whatever we have now is because we played shows in front of people and spread the word that way. People would show up to your shows who might be part of the industry and might have something to offer you, and you won't ever really get to meet those people unless you're playing those shows. So aside from that, it's just how you develop yourself as like a good musician is to like constantly play a live show, because you really don't know what you're made of until you get up on stage and perform the songs, so at least for the rock world or alternative rock world, I feel like that is the best thing you could do is get up in front of an audience, doesn't matter how big, how small, and just play your show and then consistently do that and consistently improve upon it. So that would be one of the best pieces of advice that we got, was just keep playing shows. And funny enough, that was Sam Roberts who told us that.
It all comes full circle, doesn't it? Now this may be this kind of a similar question, but I'm a big fan of experience being the best teacher. So I guess my question is, what is the best lesson that you have learned Not necessarily advice, but just lesson you have learned while practicing, or something happened, or something like,
Best lesson.
Best lesson learned on the road.
Oh, well, you know what? Like, honestly, your show is never going to be 100%.
Yeah.
That's one thing too. Like, if you're focusing on playing your set perfect, not missing a note, then your performance is going to suffer big time, because you will not look like you're enjoying it, and your actual showmanship suffers because of how focused you are on trying to get everything right. So I think I was given a piece of advice by one of our managers, and he's like, well, I can definitely tell you're trying to play everything right, and you're hitting all the notes. But like, what if you went from 100% to like 85%, and then that extra 15 is used just to put on a good show? Like, it's okay if you miss a note here or there, if you're not hitting your vocal runs perfectly. If you are looking like you're having a good time up there and spending time being an actual performer and engaging your crowd, that's well worth hitting every single note in your set. It's way more worth that, I guess, and putting it in a really confusing way, but you get it.
Yep.
And it's highly unlikely someone's going to come to the merch stand later on. Hey, I heard you missed that G chord. Like, it's highly unlikely someone's going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know. They won't notice.
No.
Right.
Honestly.
If you're putting on a good show. So guys, I know you're busy. I know you're on tour. I just wanted to speak with you guys. I really love your music. Is it cool if we play a couple cuts during the podcast and the transition?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Sounds great.
Absolutely.
But Tarek, Justin, it's been awesome. My brothers from South Detroit, aka Windsor. So please, when you're back in town, I'm not going to be super shy and I'm just probably walking to the merch
come
table.
say hello for sure.
I will. You know what? Just for kicks, I may be that guy. Hey, I heard you missed that G chord. This is like just as a running joke next time you're playing in Detroit.
I like that. Thanks, man.
All right, thank you guys so much, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thanks, dude. Great to meet you. Thanks again.
Right.
Thanks.
Nice meeting you as well. All right,
See you, man.
bye.